The very beginning of the Bible, when it first describes marriage for the very first time, all the way back in Genesis, the prototype, when it sets the standard for marriage, back in Genesis 2:24. In fact, you can see the words in your notes. It says, "For this reason, a man will leave his father and his mother and be united to his wife." It's describing marriage there. "And they will become one flesh." It says this is what marriage is all about. A man's going to leave his home and a woman will leave her home. You don't stay with that home of origin. They'll come together and be united. The word cleave, they'll be glued together. They leave and cleave. And why do they do that? So that they will become, and here's the key term. Pay attention to this one. They'll become one flesh. As we conclude today, I just want to call you to some of the benefits that we are promising you, that I'm asking you to engage with us in, what this Marriage Oneness series offers you as a couple. The benefits, the first one, this series gives you a hands-on definition of marriage oneness you can use in your marriage. We've been talking about it through it. I want you to start memorizing and thinking about it. What is oneness? Oneness is soul-level harmony of mind, common direction, of heart, emotional connection, and will, mutual commitment between a husband and a wife. See, if you'll just learn that, it gives you some vocabulary to be able to talk about your marriage in a new way. And the second thing this series will do, it will help you objectively measure the level of oneness currently in your marriage by using the online Marriage Oneness profile. Wouldn't it be great to have some objective information about your marriage right now? We're giving you that opportunity. In fact, this week, we're going to ask every couple, remember I told you you're a partner with me and you do some things with me as well? This week, we're going to ask every couple to go online. You can see the website. It's right there in your notes. And you get the opportunity. It'll only take you about 30 minutes total. The husband will go online. You'll answer some questions. Wife, go online. You'll answer some questions. And then you're going to get a printed, detailed profile that will give you some objective information. One, it'll give you an overall oneness level. Just what you said, your oneness level based on your answers. And then it'll break it down according to the 7 categories, the 7 key themes that we will be addressing over the next 7 weeks, and give you a measurement, a oneness level for each of those things. Now let me say on this profile, it's just a snapshot, just a picture right now. But if you'll do that this week, when you come next week, you will be more informed, more engaged, ready to take next steps in a new way. Third thing we'll do, and we address those 7 areas, this series will spotlight and explore those 7 key oneness areas that are vital to the growth of your marriage. And you can see them right there. Communication, conflict resolution, money, spiritual beliefs, sexual intimacy, roles and responsibilities, and then family and friends. We'll address those 7 in detail. And I promise you every week, we're not going to just talk theory. I'm going to give you practical principles and practices that you can put into action to experience it now. Fourth thing, this series will provide a variety of helpful applications and resources for improving your marriage in each of the 7 key oneness areas. So every week, the first thing you're going to do, in fact, you're going to do it right now, as we finish out, you're going to circle up. You're going to circle up every week with other couples and discuss this. Sometimes with other couples, sometimes just alone as a couple. The reason we do that, we found that if you can start discussing it right now, instead of getting to the car and getting it home, so much of it will sink in if you discuss it right now. We've also found it is so helpful to just get with other couples and realize we all struggle with the same stuff. I mean, sometimes you can feel like, oh, are we the only one that have problems here? And then you get with some other couples and they start talking to you and you go, oh, good. They have the struggles with this too. You'll have that circle up discussion. And then every week you'll have oneness work. You'll have an exercise that as a couple you'll do. And they're engaging. They help make this become reality. So your oneness work this week is to go online and do the marriage profile. It's real simple this week. That's the oneness work. You do that, you'll be prepared for the coming weeks. See, this series is designed to make you life ready for a lifetime. I don't want you to have 8 weeks of oneness. And maybe you've had this in the past where you kind of go to a marriage thing and you get that kind of boost and it feels good for a little while, but a few weeks later, you're right back to normal. You're right back to just married. We don't want that. See, we want to give you the tools. I want to empower you to be life ready for the rest of your life, to be soulmates for life. So that you're not just married anymore. So that you just don't take your marriage for granted, and even more importantly, you don't take your soulmate for granted.
Now I'm walking up as the host, and at that point I'd say, you know, what we're going to do right now, we're going to break up into circle up groups of 3 couples each, but within those 3 couple settings, we've got a leader couple who's going to be with you, kind of helping you guide through the discussion. And we've already pre-selected those. That's part of my team. They're going to lead the discussion. They know how they're going to do the discussion. And what we're going to do is keep them in those same groups every week so they can start building a sense of transparency with one another. That's what we found in the field test. If you keep mixing them up, they tend to keep defaulting back to a more superficial. So unless somebody is needing to get in a different group, we're going to think through, because we know who's coming, who's going to be in what groups with what leader. And so we break up, we go to our circle up groups. They have about 25 minutes of discussion. The circle up questions are there. At the end of that time, at the end of the circle up time, as the host, I'll stand up and I'll say, hey, we've had a great evening. You've got a definition of oneness that you're going to be able to take with you for the rest of our journey. But what's going to be even more important is in your oneness work this week, you're going to get to go online and test that definition against your marriage. And so if you look in your thing, let's say then you go online, you take it, and then you got on your oneness date and you talk through that with the questions that are there. But if you notice what it does, it gives you an overall level of oneness in your marriage. Now, we put a good one in here. We described the 5 levels, but we took a couple where they got at level 1. And by the way, they can testify to this. Very few people get level 1, okay? Because that means you're really hitting on all cylinders. But these young couples in particular, they're going to find that their level is at 3 or at 4 or whatever, and they're going to look at that. If you turn the next page from page 4 to page 5, it will measure their oneness in each of the 7 vital areas that now we're going to cover over the next 7 weeks using this profile. Okay? So in this couple's situation on communication, even though they scored a level 1, they still have room to grow in communication and in conflict resolution. They're doing great in money, spiritual beliefs, sexual intimacy, roles and responsibilities. They've got growth there needed, and it just kind of scores them. But then it takes each of these 7 areas on the next page, and it shows what the couple themselves individually believe about oneness in their marriage when it comes to communication. So if you turn the page, you see that Sue is really good. She's really feeling good about communication in their marriage. On the other hand, Bob, if you look, he's down a little bit. And now here's what the profile does. It goes into their profile, how they answered the questions, and it figures out why Bob scored it low. And then it turns those into discussion questions. So these discussion questions right in the middle, these are not just standard discussion questions. These are discussion questions based on Bob's concern about their communication. So if you look there where it says, you know, it may be helpful to discuss the ability to ask for what you want, that's because Bob in his profile said, sometimes I can't talk to Sue about what I want. And so it begins to open a door of discussion for them. But the main thing that it does for couples as we've used it is couples all of a sudden for the very first time in their life, rather than talking about whether they think their marriage is good or not so good, they have an objective standard to measure their marriage by that tells them how well they're doing. And it allows them to kind of objectify things that they've been feeling, of which now we'll begin to unwrap and go deeper in and let them find new ways of building their marriage. That's where we start. Now, every week has a project like that. They get more difficult as you go forward. I mean, one week, to me, the hardest one is the money one, because they have to develop a budget and have to break down all the things that they do and where they've been spending their money, and then have a big discussion about creating an ideal budget of where they want to spend their money. And that means a lot of research by somebody in the family to see where they've been spending their money. But again, just getting the feedback from these couples, of the 50 feedback forms we got from the last group, All 50 said ranked the number one thing they got out of Marriage Oneness wasn't the video, it wasn't even the meeting, it was the dates of discussing that they were opening up and talking about things they've never talked about or needed to talk about. And it was improving their marriage and they had something to do with it. But that's how we would finish up. We'd talk about that. They'd do their circle up groups. They would pray together. Then I'd stand up, thank them for being there. I'd talk to them about, hey, we got a Facebook page you can go to if you want to ask questions or interact with each other over this. You can contact any of us during the week, and we may check up on you and just see how you're doing and that kind of thing, because we want to be a community, a spiritual community for the next 8 weeks, making your marriage better and taking it to a higher level so that you could experience oneness the rest of your life. All right, let's all stand. We'd grab hands, and then I might lead them in this little closing group prayer that's in the facilitator's guide that just thanks God for this journey that we're on. And then we'd be dismissed. Off they would go. Okay? That's how that particular opening session works. But what I wanted you to get is a compressed feel of how it works with the quality that's involved. So they're walking out going, I'm in training. Hopefully that's what you feel. I'm in training. I've just been to the Little Rock Athletic Club, and he's put me through these new exercises, and man, I'm a little sore in my abdomen here, and my hamstrings hurting because we're working. Now, it's a good work. It was fun. It was engaging. It was lively. It was enjoyable. But at the center of it is we're serious about getting right in our marriages.